Hello, it is American football season here in the United States. It's a bit of a weird season. We just saw the Denver Broncos playing without a real quarterback. We saw Ohio State and others cancel games this weekend. All of this due to the ongoing COVID pandemic. Now, I still have conversations with friends and family about these games, whether or not they take place. There was some wording in one of these conversations that made me realize that the psychology of a sports fan is similar to the psychology of an investor, and that the psychology makes us worse investors. Now, the word that made me think about this was the word we. Certainly, players and coaches and staff would say something like, "We had a great game." Now, there are fans that also say this. There are some that don't, but that's beside the point. Now, interestingly, the frequency at which fans use we is dependent upon the success of the season. So the more successful the season, the more likely it is for fans to say we are having a great season. And the worse the season is going, the more likely it is for fans to say they are having a terrible season. Now, there are reasons psychologically why fans use the word we. There is a sense of identity and a sense of belonging when it comes to your favorite sports teams. It affects your sense of self. In fact, your feelings and your actions and even your hormones can be similar to those of the players. It affects your self esteem, whether or not your favorite team wins or loses. There's a sense of pride associated with your team. Now, there are also negative aspects to being a sports fan. In particular, our perception and the conclusions that we draw are subject to biases due to the fact that we like that sports team. We are less able to use evidence to effectively evaluate outcomes. In fact, if you look at a game, you have two different teams, two sets of fans, they will come to different conclusions about the fairness and the blame associated with various aspects of the game. Even if they come together and discuss this and then watch a replay of the game, it does not affect this bias. Now, as an aside, it's extremely trivial to create divisions between groups of people to the even to the extent where they start to mistreat each other. For example, we've done an experiment where we took a group of students in a classroom and we divided them arbitrarily, for example, taking a jar of marbles and asking them to guess how many were in there and then saying, well, if you overestimated, you're in this group, and if you underestimated, you're in this group, and they still, with such a trivial division, started treating each other poorly. Now, you're saying, Brian, this is all interesting and fine and dandy, but what does this have to do with my ability as an investor? Well, you can think about two simple things. You can think about ownership as whether or not you're a fan of a team, right? So if you own a stock, you're a fan. And you can also think about winning and losing in terms of the current price versus a purchase price. So if the current price is more than the purchase price, you're winning. And if the current price is below the purchase price, you are losing. Now, these two things will affect your ability to accurately analyze that particular investment. In fact, we make a million different types of behavioral mistakes, cognitive errors. I have a large series of discussions about these. You're welcome to check them out here and see what other mistakes you're making that may or may not have to do with sports psychology, but they're definitely there. We're definitely making them. It's definitely having a negative impact on our success. Thanks so much for listening.